to a Rise and Shine interview series. This is where I interview women that are doing extraordinary things in their lives. And so I'm really excited tonight to be speaking to Sophia Campbell. And I'm going to be reading her bio in a moment. She's a certified life and infertility coach, author, and speaker. She helps women take back control of their life after pregnancy loss and an infertility diagnosis through education and awareness, a faith mindset, and community support. Sophia has a master's degree in business and has built a 26-year career working in corporate relations and project and program management, both in Jamaica and in Canada. Sophia is married to Roger and has one miracle daughter named Faith. I love that name. As an infertility survivor and a 3-time published author of Journey to Faith, Faith, Fruitfulness, and Family and Healing, The Little Woman Inside an Anthology, she shares her authentic story of conquering infertility to inspire other women to fearlessly go after their dreams and believing that they can be, do, and have everything they desire. So you can follow Sophia on Instagram, and I'll put those as part of the post on Instagram, Facebook, and she also has a website as well. So welcome, Sophia. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me, Bev. I'm really appreciative of you reaching out and, us connecting. And here we are.
Here we
are.
So, infertility coach, most people would say, well, what does an infertility coach do? So why don't you tell the folks what you do as an infertility coach?
Okay, so I'll actually start with infertility, and then I'll break it down a little bit, to explain what I do as a coach, how I help my clients. So infertility came as a shock to me. The term itself came as a shock. But it's for persons, women, couples who are trying to conceive, to have a baby, and they've been trying for over 6 months without success, like actively trying, like this is a project, we're trying to have a baby and it's just not happening. And you have seen a specialist, you have seen a doctor who has pretty much, diagnosed you that something is going on in your body that's preventing you from getting pregnant naturally. And so the scope of infertility is very wide. Generally, they say if you're trying for over a year, actually trying for a year without success, then that's the time you need to go and see a medical professional, a reproductive endocrinologist, gynae, someone who can, do a professional assessment of your situation. And so that was my story. 2010, I was diagnosed with infertility. I got married a little bit about my background.
Sure, let's hear it.
I got married in 2009 to Roger. So this year we're celebrating 11 years in marriage. And from the Caribbean, when you get married, the next question everybody's asking you, when is the baby coming? When is the baby coming? And so we started trying right away after we were married, and it just wasn't happening. The baby wasn't coming. And after 6 months, I actually went to my doctor, and we had the discussion. Yeah, we're married, we're trying for this baby, and it's not happening. We're doing everything. And thoroughly sent us back home to say, keep trying, because you need to try for a year at least. And if it hasn't happened, then come back and see me then. And so it didn't happen in the first year, and we went back, and I was eventually diagnosed with infertility. And that has been my story for 5 years. We tried and it never happened. And so that led me to this place of being an infertility coach. I never chose it, but I like to say it chose me,
Okay.
I often hear when you go through trials and tribulations and you've been tested, then you shouldn't brush it under the carpet, but you should use it to help other people. And so because that was my journey for 5 years, it was my greatest challenge, my greatest struggle. And I went through a lot of fear and uncertainties and shame and guilt. And that was my lived experience. And it's through that journey that I met a lot of other women who had experienced infertility as well, but they weren't talking about it because I never knew what the term was. They weren't talking about it. I didn't have a lot of help during my journey. And so out of that bad thing came this good thing of being a coach, help other women who are on their journey.
So I just want to dive into that a little bit more, as you mentioned, and I had read your bio, you know, and, you know, you have your backgrounds, I believe it was in HR, and, you know, and so that's quite a change, or is it, you know, to being an infertility coach. So tell me how, so when other women may be going through something that was tough for them, how did you mix all sort of your experience with your personal challenge? How did that go together?
So my background is coming from, I said, corporate relations and project and program management.
Okay.
And when you think about project and program management, it's unrelated but related, because trying to have a baby in itself is a project. You have to time sex. You have to know when to have sex. I call it, that was our project. It's all about timing, schedule, and budget. Believe it or not, infertility, when you have a diagnosis, there are lots of options to becoming a mom that are available that a lot of people are not aware of, but it also comes with costs. So while you're planning this project, you also have to have that discussion about cost and timing, and there's an age factor as well. When, like, at what age do you decide to continue trying or to stop, right? But the situations are separate. Like I said, to become an infertility coach, I didn't choose it. It chose me, and it's from my lived experience.
Yes.
And so while they're different, unrelated, I still do both. I still have a full-time job in project and program management, but right now I'm bridging my career with my passion.
Got it. Lovely.
It's not like I gave up one to do the other. I'm doing both.
You. And so there you have it as well, for the ladies and gentlemen that may be listening, is, you know, Sophia was able to find a way to combine both. So what process, Sophia, did you have to go through in order to say sort of yes to, you know, God sort of using that challenging time in your life to help other people? What did you have to do that?
When you go through infertility, first of all, it came as a surprise, right? And like I said, there weren't a lot of people who I knew who had gone through it. So I didn't know where to turn. I didn't know who to turn to. So of course I went to Dr. Google, trying to find, first of all, what this term meant, infertility, and what it looked like. And I read a lot of stories of people who had been diagnosed with infertility, who had different paths, chosen different paths to becoming a mom, right? They still came out. They still came out holding their baby, but it's not how they had planned it. It never looked like how they had planned it. But I went through researching on Google, what is infertility? What do I need to do? I talked to my doctors. They gave me resources. Pretty much, I looked at other paths, other ways of becoming a mommy, adoption, IVF, IUI, and I just got tired. Like, everything I was asking and trying was not working.
Right.
And so I pretty much got tired of running from one fertility specialist to the next, tired of searching on Google, tired of asking the wrong people who had no experience with infertility what to do. And so you come to that point, that breaking point of you've had enough of running around, and who am I really? And you know, I also went down that path of depression and fear of never becoming a mom. And so I started telling myself a lot of negative things. You know, I'll never become a mom. My body is broken. I am not enough. You get to that point of frustration where you get to that breaking point and you had to come back to your whole, who am I? You know, I am a believer. I was born, created by God, made perfectly, wonderfully whole. So why am I
Yeah.
believing these things about my body and myself? You know, I became a Christian at 11 years old, but I never really, apart from when you go to Sunday school and they give you memory verses to study, and that
Right.
has been ingrained in you from your young, I hadn't been through a challenge where I really had to rely on the word of God and who I
Mm.
was and go back to that root. And so this was a perfect time where I was tired and I'm like, I've had enough. We were at the point where my breaking point was after 4 years of seeing fertility specialists, being poked every
Mm.
other day for blood tests. I went through 3 miscarriages as well during over that 4 year period, just getting pregnant, having that hope that you'll become a mom and then losing it, you know, um,
Yes.
losing it. Um, I just had to go back to my faith. That's
Yes.
the time when I'm like, I'm a believer. I know who God is. I know who I am. I'm
Hmm.
surrounded by people who can support me, but I'm not tapping into those resources. I'm talking to the wrong people who can't help me. So, yeah, after about the 4th year, and we were at the point of considering IVF, and we went to our specialist and we went through all the costs. Remember, we were newly married and we were looking at $15,000 to $20,000 to go through IVF.
Wow.
That was my breaking point. I was like,
Okay.
no, I'm not doing it. And I don't knock it because I do encourage people. If you have the money,
Right.
if you chose that path, if
Right.
you feel like this is a path for you, of course, absolutely go for it. But
It
we didn't
wasn't for
feel
you.
like it
Hmm.
was for us at that time because we
At the
were
time.
tired and we were also looking at the risk of, because they do tell you the risk that you spend
Come with it.
20,000, it's not guaranteed, right?
Yes.
And so it was at that point that we decided to rest. Like, okay, we're gonna rest. We're gonna go back to our faith. Well, more me, because I would always go to my husband and you know, asking him, what should we do? I'm tired, but I want to do something else. I want to take the next
Right.
step in my journey. And he always say, Sophia, trust God. He never ever said anything else. Just trust
Mm.
God.
Mm. Hmm.
The point where I get frustrated, like I needed to give me something else, I feel
Right.
like I'm the
Right.
only one trying. But now that I look back, I realize that he was always standing steadfast in his faith
Mm.
and trusting God, even at times where I questioned him.
And
you
I
know.
and, and I think you made some really great points that can be transferred really to anybody in sort of any difficult situation that they may
Mhm.
be facing.
Yeah.
Especially if you're a believer, it really is the time in this time of COVID, this pandemic time of, nothing is really certain, but God is.
Mhm.
And to actually apply,
Mhm.
you know, what does that mean to trust in God? So what were your applications in your particular situation? Like, what are some of the things that you guys did in order to
Mhm.
really apply that trust in God? Like, what does that look like practically in your case? What did that
So
look like?
practically, in my case, the first thing I did, like I was still going to church. I was on the worship team at church, believe it or
Okay.
not.
Okay.
And I never shared my story with anyone at church. I
I
will go
see.
to church,
Yes.
sit in the service, listen
Yeah.
to the word, show up broken and leave broken. Like
Okay.
I've never reached out to say, to my worship leader who also was going through her own struggle and was sharing at the time. So
Mm.
that kind of encouraged me too. But at the same time, I was like, why am I here? Why am I showing up broken and leaving broken? Why
Right.
am I showing up empty and leaving empty? And
Right.
then I started praying to the Lord, like, Lord, now is the time I need to tap into the people that you have put into my life who can pray for me. Number one, I started praying for myself because
Got
I
it.
think
Mm-hmm.
the best part, it's good to reach out to ask people to pray for you, but the best part is you just talking to God,
Mm-hmm.
making
Mm-hmm.
your request known to Him.
Yes.
And And then I started asking, like my worship leader, sharing with her, and she would pray for me. The Lord directed me to some people in the church who, you know,
Yes,
were just put at a certain place at a certain time.
for
Example, a
sure.
barbecue over a summer.
Mm,
I remember one lady, like everybody left the barbecue to go walk around the neighborhood because she was showing everyone her new neighborhood. And I decided to stay back with my mom. And there was this one other lady from church that was there. And we were just sitting and talking. And the conversation came up about infertility, like how many
yes,
kids do you have? Do you
right,
want kids? And I just
right.
felt the power of God saying to her, tell her you're struggling.
Okay,
And she opened up about her own struggles with infertility and
right.
how she had a difficult time conceiving. But when God finally opened her womb, she had all these children that her husband
Mm.
said, no, we have to stop now. You have to go see a doctor.
Abundance,
Stop, like
abundance.
abundance. And I just left feeling so good that there were other
Good.
people out there like me who were suffering, who had
Yes,
gone through something, and God delivered them. And
yes.
so that was one instance. And then I would take my journal and I would go through Bible verses, like literally
Okay,
Bible verses that spoke about barrenness in the Bible. For
exactly.
example, Sarah, I'm like,
Yes.
that woman got pregnant when she was 90 plus. And
Hello.
I'm talking about I'm too old, like conversations like that I would have with myself that I'm 40. I'm almost 40 because I
Right.
got pregnant when I was 39.
Yes.
I'm like, I'm too old. I'll never be a mom. And then when you read stories like that about Abraham and Sarah,
Yes.
who
Yes.
she got pregnant at 90 plus, I'm like, I have so many years to
That's right.
get to 90 plus. So those stories encourage me. I mean, Hannah was another one who cried out to the Lord. And
That's
I
right.
literally wrote those things down in my it wasn't even a journal, it was a book
It was a
that
book.
my mother-in-law gave me. But I started to write Bible verses. I started to write affirmations,
Good.
just come up with affirmations. And I would start a new routine of journaling. And over
Yes.
time, I began to
Yes.
feel better about myself, better about my infertility.
Yes.
um, and so it all went back to the mindset and faith,
Yes.
prayer,
Yeah.
faith,
Yeah. Yeah.
affirmation, journaling, doing a vision board. I became like a vision board expertise. I started
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
going to networking events where I learned a lot more about vision board, putting those pictures that
Mm-hmm.
um, that speak to your vision, your goals, and really tapping into them, seeing them every day and attracting them into your life. And so I, without even trying and going back to see my fertility specialist, we just found out we were pregnant one
Beautiful.
day.
Right. And now you have faith.
And now I have faith, a 6-year old.
Right.
And so yeah.
Mm-hmm. So those were some great practical tips
Yeah.
for people in any situation of where they're being challenged.
Mm-hmm.
So I love those. I love those. And I love your affirmations. And I would say that there's power in those words because it's from the Word of God.
Mm-hmm.
So there's creative power in those words.
Yeah.
And so those are some fantastic tips. So now what are some of the things, do you have anything coming up, for example, in helping women that are dealing with infertility that you'd like to tell the folks about?
So yeah, I do have out of my same journaling exercises that I usually do when I was trying to get pregnant. I and that's why I always say to women in my community, document your journey.
Mm,
Document your journey because you never
mm,
know when you're going to look back and
right,
see the little steps, little actions that you took.
right.
Change the narrative. And narrative is very important because I could look back in my journal and see times when I was saying I would never be a mom to start where I
Mm,
started to wrote down stuff to say I'm going to be the best mom. And
awesome.
so out of that book that I wrote and I created this journal for women who are going through infertility. It's a 52-week journal that's available on Amazon. And
Wonderful.
I encourage every woman to journal, to write in that journal, to, the things that they, the things that are coming up for them, the emotions that they're feeling, just to be present with them, hold them
Mm,
there and change them, change the narrative, the negative ones that are not serving you. And so
right.
I also have my faith, family, and fruitfulness journal as well that women can use to, if you're really looking at tapping into your faith, because faith and action goes together. Faith without action,
Yes,
without work is dead. So we
that's
can
right.
say we have faith and the Lord will work things out for us. He absolutely will, but we also have to be ready and prepared to um to work as well.
That's
And
right.
so I have that prayer journal, just tap into prayer. Start
Mm.
praying for the things that you're attracting into your life. And like
Yes,
I said, sometimes the best prayers are the ones that you prayed, just sitting down and talking to God, telling
that's
him your
right.
needs. It's not like a Christianese type of prayer where you have to, be, I don't know,
Right.
just talking to him. He's
Ju-
always there. He's always near to you. He
Yes.
knows your needs. So I recommend that those two journals as well. And I do on my website, I do have a vision board course that's available there. It's
Mm.
timed, what do you call it? A pace. You can do it at your own convenience from
Okay.
home. But I do encourage women in my community to do vision boards. It's a visual representation of the things you're attracting into your life. And when you see it every day, when you remind yourself of your goals and where you're going, you will realize that they just come to you naturally. They
Mm.
happen without when you're least expecting them
Mm. Mm.
because it's at the forefront of your mind.
Well, excellent. So thank you so much, Sophia. Like, what an amazing story and testament to just God's goodness and God's faithfulness, and just even from you really building your faith in order to claim the things that were meant for you and for
Yeah.
Roger. So may God continue to bless you and enlarge in your tent and your territory in your area as an infertility coach. And thank you so much for joining me. And so again, I'm Coach Bev. I help women find, develop, and pursue their God purpose. And this was a
Thank
Rise and
you.
Shine. So thanks everyone
Thank
for
you so
watching.
much.
Thank you for watching, everyone, and take care.